If psychic powers like telepathy or precognition really exist, why doesn't anyone use them to win in Las Vegas? Casinos make billions every year. The house wins consistently. So doesn't that completely disprove psychic abilities? Surprisingly, not necessarily. This chapter explores a fascinating idea. What if psychic effects are real, but subtle, statistical, and influenced by environmental forces like the moon and Earth's magnetic field? Let's dive in. Chapter summary. The casino argument against psychic powers. A famous science magazine once argued, if psychic powers were real, gamblers would use them, and casinos wouldn't profit. At first glance, that sounds logical, but parapsychologists saw something different. They realized casinos are actually perfect laboratories for testing psychic effects. Thousands of highly motivated people, continuous random events, strict controls, massive amounts of data. If psi exists, even in small amounts, it should appear statistically in casino results. Early attempts to use psi in gambling. In 1968, researchers tried using psychic prediction methods for roulette and other games. They got above-chance results. But the effect was small, not strong enough to beat casinos consistently. So the real question became, does psi naturally influence gambling results on a large scale? The breakthrough. Real casino data. Researchers obtained 4 years of daily data from a Las Vegas casino. They analyzed slot machines, blackjack, roulette, craps, keno. They calculated something called payout percentage, how much money gamblers won compared to how much they bet. Under normal probability, daily payout percentages should fluctuate randomly. But what if they don't? Measure Part 1. Geomagnetic fields. The Earth has a magnetic field that constantly fluctuates. For decades, scientists believed these fluctuations were too weak to affect humans. But later research showed weak magnetic fields affect brain activity. Industrial accidents increase during certain geomagnetic changes. Human behavior shifts with geomagnetic fluctuations. Most importantly, psi performance in laboratory experiments improves when the geomagnetic field is quiet. So researchers predicted, when the geomagnetic field is weaker, casino payouts should increase. And that's exactly what they found. Higher payouts when geomagnetic activity was lower. Part 2. The moon. For thousands of years, people have believed the moon affects behavior. Words like lunatic come from this belief. Modern science is skeptical, but small statistical effects have occasionally appeared. Historically, magical rituals were timed to full moons. Psychic powers were believed strongest under full moons. Ancient medicine linked the moon to blood and the brain. One experiment in 1965 found that telepathy performance increased around the full moon. So researchers made another prediction. Casino payouts should peak around the full moon. The result. They averaged data across 50 lunar cycles, and they found payouts peaked near the full moon, dropped near the new moon. Difference was about 2%. Not enough to beat the casino, but statistically significant. Gamblers might lose slightly slower near full moons, slot machines and jackpots. Here's where it gets interesting. 4 out of 6 major slot jackpots over 4 years happened within 1 day of the full moon. The odds of that happening by chance? 16,000 to 1. Is it coincidence? Maybe, but it's intriguing. Other games. Different games showed slightly different peak days. Blackjack peaked 3 days before full moon. Craps peaked 3 days after. Roulette peaked 1 day before. But overall, the 29-day lunar rhythm appeared repeatedly. Lottery studies. Researchers then looked at state lotteries. If psi affects casinos, it should affect lotteries too. They studied pick-3 lottery games across several states. Again, payout percentages showed correlations with lunar cycle and geomagnetic fluctuations. Even more convincing, studies of French and Soviet national lotteries in the 1980s showed strong correlations between payout rates and geomagnetic field strength. Lower magnetic activity, higher payouts. Odds against chance, 400 to 1. What does this mean? The effects are small. No one is becoming rich from psychic gambling. But across millions of players, small intuitive shifts may influence outcomes. The key idea, psi may not be dramatic or controllable. It may be subtle, statistical, and influenced by environmental conditions. Final interpretation. Casinos don't disprove psychic ability. Instead, they may accidentally demonstrate it. not through individual miracles, but through tiny deviations from randomness across massive data sets. If this research is correct, then psychic influence isn't rare. It's quietly operating in the background of everyday life, even in Las Vegas. Outro. So next time you see a full moon, would you enter a casino? This chapter suggests something profound. Human consciousness might be more connected to the environment than we realize, and psychic effects, if they exist, may not be about bending spoons, but about bending probabilities, quietly, subtly, statistically. If you enjoyed this chapter summary, stay tuned for the next one, because the science of consciousness is far stranger than we think. If you'd